For the frog zookeeper hat, you will need a skein of pastel yellow in Premier Yarns Hush and celery in the Hush yarn. And then I'll be using a size J Deborah Norville crochet hook. And then I have something like a piece of cardboard to measure for my fringe, and a pair of scissors, and of course a yarn needle to sew in my ends. So to start with, the zookeeper hats, there's 5, like I said in the introduction, that all have the same exact body, main part of the hat, and the ear flaps and the fringe are exactly the same. So what you'll see next is the main part of this bunny hat that was done in a previous video, but you will be using the green instead of the white right here, and you'll be following the pattern for the frog. And so you'll notice here, instead of it being one solid color, it breaks into yellow around this band. Depending on what size you're working will depend on which round you're going to turn, change to this yellow color. So right now you'll go to a video that's showing you how to make this hat, but keep in mind you'll be using the celery and the pastel yellow, and it's the same exact yarn. And so you'll create this part and the ear flaps, and then I'll come back on camera. I'll show you how to do the fringe and how to make these adorable little eyeballs. So to start with, you chain 4, and I've already done that, and I leave a long end on my starting chain, and you join with a slip stitch to form a ring, so in the first chain. So you go back to your first chain there and slip stitch in that like this, and then you have a little opening here, and that's the center of your ring. Now I always work over the end of my starting chain, and that's so I can pull my stitches and close up the hole in the middle, because I don't like the hole. So anyway, and then it says to work 6 single crochets into the ring. So you want to work real loose with this type of yarn so it's easier to find your stitches. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So now if I pull the end of my starting chain like this very carefully, because I don't want my yarn to break, I can close up that hole. So now you take a long piece of contrasting yarn, and this is probably about 18 inches long, 12 would probably work, and you just lay it on this side of the last stitch that you worked, and then you continue on to round 2 without joining. So now if you have a hard time seeing the stitches, which they are kind of hard to find because of this yarn, you might want to feel it, so you can feel the little space underneath those top 2 loops. So right now I'm going to go into the stitches of round 1, and I'm going to work 2 single crochets in each of the 6 single crochets from round 1. So there's 2, and then I'm going to go underneath the next one, and there's 3 and 4, and then the next one's here, and then 5 and 6, and then 7 and 8, and then 9 and 10, and then 11 and 12. So that completes round 2. I'm not going to join, and I'm just going to move my stitch marker. I can either move it from, you know, it's like right here, I can move it back like this, or I can bring this one forward, but I like to move it back. So let me just say I'm going to move it back like that, and then on the next round I'm going to work 2 singles in the next one, and then just 1 single in the next, and then 2 and 1, and then 2 and then 1, and then 2 and 1, 2, and 1, 2. So you're increasing every other stitch. Okay, so now I've done 2 in one and then 1 in the other, and then so that gives me 18. So all the increases are done the same way, except that you're gonna add one more single crochet in between the increase stitches. So now the next one will be 2 in the first one, and then 1 and 1, 2, an increase, and then 1 and 1. So you're increasing one stitch in between your increases. So here's 2, and then 1 and 1, and then 2, and 1 and 1, and then 2, 1 and 1. I always count like this in my head. And then 2 for the increase, and then 1 and 1. Okay, so now at the end of this round, you are gonna have 24 single crochets, and you move the marker again, and now the next one starts out with 2, like an increase, and then 3, and then increase and 3. And actually in the pattern it's written where you do the 3 first, and then you do the increase, but the pattern is the same. You're increasing 1 in between each one more individual stitch. So continue on until you reach the size that you want, and then I'll come back on camera, like it stops at round 6, and then for child size it goes to round 7 and 8, and then adult size goes up to round 9, where you keep increasing, and then you're just going to crochet even after a certain point. So I will come back on camera once I have all of my hat made pretty much. I'm going to follow the directions here for the child size, and I'm going to have the hat completed when I come down. So you're going to be increasing out to a certain point depending on what size hat you're doing, and then you're going to crochet even for like 5 inches for the child size and 7 and 8 inches for the larger sizes. And then I'll come back on camera with my hat worked all the way up to here, and then I'm going to show you how to make the ear flaps. So I finished my hat, and now I'm ready to make my ear flaps. So I thought this light blue paper underneath my work would help, since I'm working with a light colored yarn. So to make the ear flaps, the finished ear flap looks like this, and it started right here, and you just go back and forth in rows, and at the center of the 3 single crochet group you're going to make 3 single crochet stitches in every single row, and at the very beginning and end you're going to have 2 singles, and then on the straightaways here it's just single crochets in the stitches. So to get started, you chain 2. I'm going to do this really loose so we can see what the stitches are, because this yarn is kind of hard to work with. So I'm going to work 3 single crochets in the second chain from hook. So 1, 2, and 3, and that's row 1. So I have 3 single crochets. Then I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and then I'm going to work 2 singles in the first single, and then I'm going to work, I can feel the stitches in there, so that's a good way to figure out where the stitches are that I need to work into. So I'm going to work 3 singles into the center single crochet, and then I'm going to work 2 singles in the last single crochet. So that gives me 7 single crochets. Now I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and I'm going to work 2 singles in the first single crochet, and then I'm going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and now I'm going to work 3 single crochets in the center single crochet of the 3 single crochet group, and then I'm going to single in the next 2 singles, and then I'm going to work 2 singles in the last single. So that is the end of row 3, and then you'll have 15 single crochet stitches, no 11 on that row, Okay, chain 1, turn, 2 singles in the first one, single crochet in the next 4 single crochets, work 3 single crochets in the center single crochet of the 3 single crochet group, single crochet in the next 4 single crochets, two single crochets in the last one, and that completes row 4, and there's 15 single crochets. This is the last row of the ear flap. So 2 in the first one, single crochet across to the tip, so there's 6 single crochets across, and then 3 at the top, and then 6 back down, and then 2 in the end, and that completes row 5, and the ear flap is done. So at the end of row 5, what you want to do is finish off, but you also want to leave a long end so you can sew the ear flap to the hat. And I did mine super loose so that you could see it in the demonstration, and this is the same pattern worked in a tighter stitch that my crocheter stitched up for me. So then you would sew these, finish off leaving a really long end, and then sew these to the sides of the hat. To make the fringe on the ear flaps, you just take a strand of each color, and I have a piece of cardboard here that's about 6 inches this way and about 8 inches that way, and I just keep this handy, and I could use it long ways for different projects or short. And there are different tools also that you can get for making fringe, but this works for right now. So I have a double strand. I'm going to start here at the bottom. I'm going to hold it with my thumb, and I'm just going to wrap it around 3 times. So that's 2, and then this is 3, and you want to make sure that you end on the same side that you began. So I'm down here, and I just cut the bottom right here. And then I go in here with my scissors and I cut the bottom on this side of all the strands. Somewhere. Okay, just go in here and just cut that. So now you take all your strands together, and you wind as many off as you want at one time. And you just fold all the strands together like this. And then you take your crochet hook, and let's say I wanted it right here, but I do want it on the tip of the ear flap. But let's say I wanted it right here. So I'm going to find a crochet stitch right here, and I'm going to go through 2 loops there, and I'm going to bring my hook from the wrong side out to the right side. Then I'm going to take the fold of all those strands held together like this, and then I'm going to bring that from the right side down to the wrong side like this. And then I can set my crochet hook down, open up the fold, and just grab all the ends like this and bring them through the fold. Just like this. And then tighten, just be real careful, tighten all the strands, just like that. So that's how you make the fringe. I think I did a few more than is right here. Maybe this was just twice wrapped around. But anyway, you get the idea. And then you can always trim your ends or just leave them kind of, you know, a little bit wild like that. But anyway, that's how you make the fringe. So you make 1 fringe on each side of the ear flaps. So next, I'll show you how to make these adorable little eyes. Okay, so here's a close-up of the eyes, and they are actually started from the back. And you start by creating a circle, and it's worked in rounds for rounds 1 through 3, and then you work in rows for rows 4 and 5, and then you go back to rounds, and you land up on this side with the yellow finishing up the front of the eye. So this is interesting. I've never done this before, but it'll be an adventure. So you start out with a slip knot, and then you chain 4, which I've already done, and then you join with a slip stitch to form a ring. So I'm going to reach over to my first chain here. I'm going to insert my hook, draw up a loop like this, and then draw that. And I don't want to get in here because that's part of the stitch. I need to be right here, so I'm going to go ahead and put my finger right there and then finish the slip stitch right here. Now, as I'm working stitches into the center of my ring, I'm also going to be working over the end of my starting chain that you see right here. So all my stitches will be over this end and into the center of the ring, which is right here. So now it just says to work 8 single crochets into the ring. So I'm just going to work my 8, and I'm working over my end of my starting chain. So there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so now in the directions it says to place a marker. And so placing a marker, you can use a stitch marker, which I have right here, and you could place it on the first stitch of this round, which is right here. Or what I like to do is place a marker like this. I take the contrasting color yarn and I just lay it on this side of the last stitch of that round, and then I just let that become sandwiched between the last stitch and the next stitch that I work for round 2. So in round 2, I'm going to work 2 single crochets in each of the 8 single crochets around. So I'm basically going to be doubling from 8 to 16. So let me try to get into these stitches here. Okay. So I'm going to go in here. And then now that marker is sandwiched between the 2. And because I worked over the end of my starting chain, I can pull that. I just want to pull it. You have to be careful with this yarn not to pull too tight, but if I pull it, it's like a drawstring in there because of all those stitches being over it. So I can just pull it real light, and then when I get finished, I'll just secure that with a couple of stitches. So right now I have 2, and then here's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Okay, so that's the end of round 2. And now you just move the stitch marker is right here between the last stitch of round 1 and the first stitch of round 2. So I just bring it like from the front, fold it over to the back, or I could bring the back forward, but it just works out easier to take this back. And now I'm ready for round 3. And round 3 is increasing every other stitch. So I'm going to single crochet in this one and work 2 single crochet in the next one. And then I'm going to end up with 24. So I'm going to do 1 and then 2. And 1. Let me get my yarn out here. I think this was 2 and then 1 and 2, 1. When I'm working with this yarn, I like to work rather loosely so I can feel the stitches. So I'm just doing 2 in one stitch and then 1 in the next stitch. So I'm going 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Okay, I'm going to count. I just have to count with my fingertips, feeling the stitches. So 2, 3, 4. You can kind of see them in there. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 11, 12, 13. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. And that's how many I need. Okay, so now I'm back to the beginning of the round. And now that ends the rounds. And now I'm going to chain 1 right here and turn. And then I'm going to single crochet in each one of the single crochets. So just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, Okay, so I'm working in 20, so that means 4 single crochets are skipped. So now I'm going to chain 1 turn, and then I'm going to work 20 single crochets back. So go ahead and do that, and then I'll come back on camera and show you what to do next. So at the end of row 5, which was another row of 20 single crochets, when I'm done with my 20th single crochet, I'm going to yarn over, tighten the back of that chain, and then I'm going to cut back here and pull that all the way through. Now I'm going to go onto the right side of my work, which is the side I was working on for all of the rounds. And now I'm going to join the pastel yellow for the front part of the eye. Okay, so I'm going to start with a slip knot. And with this color, I want to work 20 single crochets across. So what I'm going to do is just join with a single crochet to the first single crochet that's here. And to do that, I am going to start with a loop on my hook. I'm going to insert my hook in the first single crochet underneath the top 2 loops. I'm going to yarn over, draw that loop up. I'm holding this loop like this. Then I'm going to yarn over and draw through 2, and that's joining with a single crochet. So now again, I'm going to work 20 single crochets, 1 single crochet in every one of the 20 single crochets across. So go ahead and do that, and then I'll be right back on camera to show you what to do next. So now I have my 20 single crochets in contrasting color, and the end of this row is where I join it, and it's actually going back into a round. So to do so, at the end of my 20th single crochet, I chain 4, and then I'm going to go over here and join to the first single crochet, so that joins it back into a round. And to do so, I'm going to insert my hook from front to back through the first single crochet. I'm going to yarn over, draw that loop up, and then draw that loop through the loop on my hook. So see what's happening here is this created the opening to put the stuffing in. I think it's brilliant. And then these stitches will decrease to close up the eye on the front. I love this. This is awesome. Okay, now, so you're going to join into a round, and you're going to single crochet into the next 2 stitches, and then you're going to skip the next stitch. So what you want to do is single crochet here and here, and then skip this one. So 1, 2, and skip. And then 1, 2, and skip. And then 1, 2, and skip. And 1, 2, and skip, and 1, 2, and skip, and 1, 2, and skip. So then it says to work a single crochet in the next single crochet and skip the next. So you do that all the way around until you have 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. Okay, and then it says to finish off. So to finish off, I would just do a slip stitch in the next stitch, just like this, and bring that through. And then I would finish off leaving a long end, so maybe out here, and then pull that all the way through like that. And then you just take your yarn needle and thread it, and then you weave this between all of the 8 stitches of the last round there. This is so neat how this works. Okay, so if you just weave in and out of all those single crochet stitches, then when you pull it, it closes up that front part of the eye. So now that where we did rows for two rows of single crochet, you can see that became the sides of the eye. And then when we came back into a round, it created this opening. So now I would turn it wrong side out and then finish, bring this end into the wrong side, into the inside of the eye, and then just secure it inside. And really, a lot of these ends here could be tucked up inside the eye. You're going to need probably the green strand, a long green strand. If you had a really long end here, that would have helped. But anyway, then you just use your green yarn and stuff the eye. First you want to embroider these X stitches on the eye, and then you just use some green and sew the 2 eyes to the top of the hat. And then sew these little, these are embroidery stitches. You just embroider the features onto the hat. So that's how you make the Zookeeper frog hat, and the links to everything are listed below. And I really, really, really want you to subscribe to our channel, like and share our videos. It really helps us out a lot. And I want to thank you very much for watching. Draw up a loop, draw through 2, draw through 1. Yarn over, or if you accidentally drop it, those loops won't fall off your hook. So now I'm going to continue on, skip that one, pick up this one, skip,